Hey guys, it's Kyle. Today we're going to continue building our foundations. We're going to talk about the kettlebell swing. We'll talk about why it's functional and why we like it so much. But basically when we talk about everything, we want to think of it in terms as our squat, our push-up, and our jump. That way everything we do comes back to these three fundamental foundational movements, and then everything else is linked back to these things. So if we're getting good at one thing over here, it's going to make us get good at something else over here. We call that skill transfer, and it's really what makes everything we do in here functional. So to make the kettlebell swing functional, we need to be doing this in a specific way that we actually are getting this transferability along with increasing our overall fitness. So what is the kettlebell swing? Basically, I'm going to pick the kettlebell up, and I'm going to use my jumping position to jump the kettlebell up over my head. So what does our jumping position look like? Butt tight, belly button drawn in. I'm holding my Kegel. I'm twisting my feet on the floor, and I'm nice and balanced on my feet. My rib cage is down, and I'm extending up. And I have my shoulders rotating. For our jumping position, I'm going to stick my hips back. I'm going to get about a 45-degree angle here with my torso, and then my shins are nice and vertical. My hands are actually going to rotate the opposite way now, so my palms are back in. So if I go to jump, I'm just going to swing my arms and jump. Notice what positions I'm going in. So we're going to use this neutral position. Then at the top of my jump, I'm going to use that arch position. Looks just like what we talked about earlier in the burpee. Throwing a soccer ball, arching the spike of volleyball, and throw. So we use these positions just over and over and over again. So jumping position, I'm nice and neutral. As I jump, I'm going to jump into that arch position. And that's really going to generate power with my legs and hips to propel me up. I want to do the exact same thing in the kettlebell swing. So what we see a lot of is people doing kettlebell swings where they're using their arms more than anything else. So this kind of goes back to what we talked about before. If I'm swinging, it's pretty easy to see. I don't want to swing and then get my lower body involved. There's no power there. I want to lead everything with the lower body and then tie it in. So the kettlebell is no different. So really what I'm doing with the kettlebell swing is I'm getting in my jumping position. I'm going to widen my stance a little bit so I have room for the kettlebell to go between my legs. Then I'm going to hold the kettlebell right here. Now I'm going to use my jumping position as I jump up and then extend hard with my hips and get back in that arch position, and then that extension is going to let the kettlebell just float over my head. So let's watch a couple more. So as I'm doing this, I'm in my jumping position. I jump and explode hard with my hips there, and that's going to send the kettlebell up. If I move the kettlebell beforehand with my arms, then when I go use my hips, I'm not getting very much leverage and power into the kettlebell swing. So being athletic is all about timing, and so we really want to tie in the timing of when we use our legs and hips relative to our arms into the kettlebell swing here. That way this transfers over into everything else we're doing out in the real world, but this also transfers over into our jumping ability, which is ultimately why we're doing this. So what do we do in the kettlebell swing? We're in our jumping position here. Our shoulders are back, and we actually have that same rotation in our shoulder. So I'm going to internally rotate. So as I hold on to this kettlebell, I'm not going to let my shoulders go here. My shoulders are back, but I'm internally rotating. So that position looks just like this position. Then when I come up and go overhead, now I have to externally rotate my shoulders. This looks exactly like the push-up. So now we're combining a jump and a push-up to make my kettlebell swing. So as I'm overhead, if I'm in a push-up, my shoulders are back and I'm rotating in. So as I'm overhead, my pinkies are now rotating into the kettlebell externally here. So my shoulders are always back, and I go for my jumping position here. Then I'm going to end in what looks like a push-up position here. All right, so let's start making those connections in our head so everything we're practicing here in the gym can transfer directly out into what we want to use it for out in the real world and other movements we use in the gym. The kettlebell swing is simply a jump and a push-up combined together. As we jump, wait, and get that timing right where we really use our legs and hips to drive it up over our head. Enjoy.